Sometimes we need to fail to realize how far we've fallen. Once we gather ourselves, we can use those mistakes to build something truly amazing. This happens to everyone. Even very successful companies need a hard reset sometimes. This was the case with the Nintendo Wii U. One of the best Nintendo consoles has secured its spot to be the least remembered gaming machine in all of history. It was a mess created out of confusion. People didn't understand it, and Nintendo didn't sort out the details quickly enough. Over a short period of time, the world turned its back on what they used to love. Going back to 2006, the Wii was released to critical acclaim. People went absolutely nuts for it. Stores were quickly sold out and couldn't keep it in stock. It was underpowered but was easily accessible because of the unique controller. Real-life movements controlled the games. It appealed to everybody because of this basic concept. Who hasn't witnessed their parents trying to play a game with the traditional controller and watch them move and sway the controller in the direction they wanted the playable character to go? The Wii was released at the exact right time. It didn't hurt that it was backwards compatible with the previous Nintendo machine, the GameCube. It was a massive success. It ended up selling over 100 million units over its lifetime. It's ranked as the 6th best-selling console of all time. So what would the logical next step for Nintendo be? To capitalize on the past success of their current console, and that's exactly what they did. The next Nintendo console would build upon what the Wii established. It added full backwards compatibility with the Wii. It would also go on to push its legacy even further with a unique controller. They called it the Gamepad. It added a touchscreen in the center of all the buttons and sticks, giving the player another screen to reference or use during gameplay. This was a similar experience to that of the DS and 3DS on the TV. It was ambitious, which is something Nintendo hasn't lacked in recent years. They made it mandatory to use the gamepad to access any game. But the biggest leap forward for this console was the addition of the HDMI port. It's the first Nintendo console to feature one. A Nintendo console would finally play games in HD. This also allowed the ability to play original Wii games on modern TVs over HDMI. Nintendo decided to call this new console the Wii U, solidifying this new console as part of the Wii family. But this name is confusing, especially for a large portion of Wii owners that didn't follow gaming news. Was this a redesigned original Wii? There had been a few redesigns already. Was this just another one? What does the U stand for? Does it mean Wii plus U can play together? Or does it mean something like Wii University? There's still ongoing debates on what it means. The console itself looks very similar to the Wii. Nothing really makes it stand out from the previous outing, aside from the more rounded edges. There are three things that lead to the Wii U being misunderstood: the gamepad, the design, and the name. Was it a console revision? Was the gamepad an expensive add-on for your Wii? Was it a whole new console? This could have been somewhat remedied with a better name. Even just adding a 2 to the end would have instantly conveyed that this was a brand new console, which is why it's so infuriating that they named it the Wii U. It's so close to the Wii 2. For those that took the plunge and bought a Wii U, it was one of the best consoles that came out during that time. The wonky gamepad actually isn't so wonky. In fact, it's one of the most comfortable controllers ever made. Though the battery life isn't all that great, keeping it plugged in while playing really isn't a big deal. The screen is actually a fantastic addition to gaming. Just like the DS and 3DS, the screen is used to display maps and other things so you don't have to toggle between them on the TV. Though the best part of the Wii U is by far the games. The games that were developed for the Wii U are some of the best games Nintendo has ever made. Super Mario 3D World, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD, Mario Kart 8, Bayonetta 2, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, New Super Mario Bros. U, Pikmin 3, and one of the best platformers ever created, Donkey Kong Country: Tropical Freeze. All of these games are worth buying and playing. Even if you're sick of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, this is still a fun Mario platformer. There aren't many third-party games that are notable for the Wii U, with exceptions like DuckTales Remastered, Zombie U, Rayman Legends, and The Wonderful 101. However, those who ended up buying a Wii U did so to play the first-party titles. Those games are fun. It's a shame that only a handful of people took the chance on the Wii U, because the games that were made for it were some of the best. Nintendo waited to release its final Wii U game the day their next home console, the Switch, released. It also received that game, the game all Wii U owners waited so long for, the massively hyped The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This release was methodically planned by Nintendo. They knew that this Zelda game was going to be a console seller. Instead of releasing it on a failing console that was showing its age, they decided to delay the release to fall on the launch day of the Switch. This was the best decision they could have made. Not only did the majority of people who pre-ordered the Switch buy it, it was actually given a chance to succeed. I pre-ordered the Switch along with Breath of the Wild. I didn't pick it up for my Wii U until much later when it was on sale. I think you should experience this game on the Wii U, as this was the console that it was originally developed for. I believe that has some merit when playing any video game. The Switch in essence started its life out with a high-profile port. Little did I know or expect, this trend would continue. The best games the Wii U had have been slowly released as the months and years have gone on. Mario Kart 8, Bayonetta 1 and 2, New Super Mario Bros. U and New Luigi U, LEGO City Undercover, though this was released on other platforms after initially being a Wii U exclusive, Hyrule Warriors, Pokken Tournament, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and most recently, Pikmin 3. Super Mario 3D World is also slated to come out in the coming months. How have these games been received by the Switch community? They've been embraced with both arms. It's been something to witness. What was once spoken about in negativity was then repackaged, presented as new, and embraced by the masses. After all the negativity I had been hearing and reading about the Wii U, the very essence of what that console is, the games, were selling like crazy and defining what the Switch is. These games are a big reason as to why the Switch is the success that it is today. They were always great. I don't understand why people wouldn't get on board just because of the console design. Literally, these are the exact same games I've been playing for years. The stigma the Wii U had hindered these games from performing well. It's hard to argue in favor of one console over the other. They both have the same exact games. Though it's worth saying that the Switch ports are the definitive versions of these games. They usually include additional content and all the DLC, if the game had it, with exception to Breath of the Wild's DLC. I absolutely love both systems, so am I upset that Nintendo decided to port all these games to the Switch, effectively wiping the Wii U from everyone's memory? In all honesty, I didn't have to buy these games again, I already owned them. Having most of my favorite Wii U games on the current console that can also be played as a handheld is a dream come true. It's been great having them on airplanes and car trips. They all look amazing on the Switch. I'm extremely happy that they were given a chance to succeed. There's no denying that they severely underperformed on the Wii U. Though I wish that they would have released new games in their place, as I had already played and beat most of them. It would have been nice to see new entries made for those respective franchises. But I understand why it is this way. Nintendo was able to make the money they should have made when they were on the Wii U. And they were able to roll these games out between each highly anticipated release. After all, ports from other systems are not a new thing for any console. If you just look at how many Zelda games have been ported over to new systems, even consecutive systems, it's clear that it's a trend that's been going on for decades. The Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask were all re-released on the GameCube on the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition disc. Ocarina of Time also had a standalone release on the GameCube, which also featured the Master Quest. The Wii launched with Twilight Princess, which also released on the GameCube. The Wii famously also had the Virtual Console, which allowed us to download all the retro titles from the NES, SNES, and N64. The Wii U has the best versions of The Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Both are remastered in HD and have quality of life improvements. Twilight Princess doesn't have the motion controls, and The Wind Waker has the option to get the Swift Sail. Zelda games were also on the Wii U Virtual Console, with the addition of the Minish Cap from the Game Boy Advance, and both of the DS titles, Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. Skyward Sword can also be downloaded, though I'm not sure it's considered a Virtual Console game. You can play the original Zelda and Zelda 2, along with A Link to the Past, if you have the Switch's online service. This was a look at only one franchise. Though it's a high-profile franchise, that's only one. There are many others that have also been ported or remastered over to another console. Porting games to a new console isn't new, and it won't end with the current console generation. These games have propelled the Switch into heights nobody expected after the disappointment of the Wii U. It's off the back of the Wii U that made it possible. If it weren't for that failed and forgotten system, the Switch never would have been.